Hey everyone, what's going on? Mr. Harvey here. Let's continue our lecture on Chapter 12, and today we're going to be focusing on conservatism in Europe, ladies and gentlemen, during the early 1800s, 19th century. Now, just a quick reminder, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be focusing on the isms in Chapter 12 and throughout the rest of this class. So let's just do a quick review. Conservatism, ladies and gentlemen, remember, it is an ideology that is anti-enlightenment, anti-reason, anti-revolutionary. And this is going to be the strong reaction that we're going to see, especially during the 19th century in a post-Napoleonic Europe. Liberalism, remember, is pro-enlightenment, pro-French Revolution, just in general, pro-revolution, and is really going to be in opposition to conservatism. And then we also have nationalism, ladies and gentlemen, that is this notion of people being united, having their own country, being united by a common heritage, culture, and language. And today we're going to really be focused on conservatism, which we're going to talk about. And the country and leader that really embodied this conservatism, ladies and gentlemen, of the early 1800s and 19th century is Metternich of Austria. Okay, so really important for us to know that. Now, why? And we know this answer, but why was Austria so conservative? Why was Metternich so conservative and concerned about nationalism and liberalism? Well, the answer is because Austria was a multinational, multi-ethnic empire. It's not just Austrians in the Habsburg Austrian Empire. It is Serbs, Czechs, Italians, Germans, there's Hungarians, there's many Romanians, there's tons of groups, peoples of different faiths, languages, backgrounds within this Habsburg Empire, ladies and gentlemen. And if nationalism or liberalism gets into the Austrian Empire, ladies and gentlemen, it's over. And eventually that's what's going to happen, ladies and gentlemen. Nationalism will be the spark that ignites one of the sparks that ignites World War I. And where is that going to start? Well, it's going to start with Austria. Austria is going to be a main figure in why World War I is going to start. And part of that reason is because of nationalism. All right. And they knew this. Nationalism would destroy the empire. And that's one of the reasons why we're going to see Austria and Metternich on defense against liberalism and nationalism throughout the 1800s. And so one of the first things that Metternich is going to do, and Metternich is going to be really the symbol of conservatism in the early 1800s, and throughout the 19th century, is Austria is going to move to dominate the newly German Confederation. They did not want the Germans within the Austrian Empire to want their own country, because that would really bring about destabilize Austria. And so they're going to really try to dominate the newly developed German Confederation that we see rise after the Congress of Vienna, that we see rise in a post-Napoleonic Europe, but also dominate all their ethnic groups, Italians, Czechs, all those different groups within there. They really wanted to dominate them and make sure that there was no nationalism, no liberalism within their empire. Okay, and remember that German Confederation, just a quick review, is that new confederation that we see rise after the fall of Napoleon, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, now Prussia, ladies and gentlemen, is going to be very conservative as well. All right. Prussia, when we see Germany unite, okay, it's going to be no secret. Germany, under the leadership of Otto von Bismarck, which is going to be happening in the next couple chapters, Germany will be a very conservative country, okay? And so, Prussia is going to be conservative as well. The leader, Frederick William III, ladies and gentlemen, he initially had pledged for a constitutional monarchy, very fearful of liberalism within his country, but he's going to back down from that. And having a constitutional monarchy would have been liberalism. Well, he's going to say no, all right? And instead, he's going to create this Council of the State, which established 8 provincial diets. But he was in the sole power. And what's important to understand about this, ladies and gentlemen, is in Prussia, that ancien regime, that kind of status quo revolutionary Europe pre-1789, is really going to be the status quo of Prussia after the French Revolution and after the Congress of Vienna. We're going to see the Junkers dominate the diets. And there's going to be this strong bond between the monarchy, the army, and the landowners. And this is really important, ladies and gentlemen, because Prussia, Germany, these Germanic lands are going to be very conservative. And when we see Germany eventually unite under Otto von Bismarck, it will be conservative. Important for us to know. Okay, and initially Prussia will oppose German nationalism, but we're going to see them switch, and we'll talk about why when we get to the unification of Germany. But initially, Prussia will oppose German nationalism. Okay, now let's talk about the Burschenschaften really quickly in the Carlsbad degrees. This is just a great example of conservatism, ladies and gentlemen, in the early 1800s and 19th century in Europe. Okay, now youth, many university students during this time, the 1800s, were really influenced by nationalism and liberalism. The Burschenschaften was a student association of German nationalists. They dreamed of a united Germany. They're later very anti-Semitic, but they really wanted this unified German state, a singular German state, which eventually we will get to with the creation of the Second German Empire. But they're going to celebrate, the battles that Germans participated in, like the Battle of Leipzig, Martin Luther's thesis. But things are going to take a dramatic turn when one member of the student association, Karl Sand, is going to murder. He's going to murder this person named August von Klutzbühl, and he's going to be executed for the crime. And what's going to happen is that Metternich is going to kind of capture his attention, and he's going to look at this student association with this nationalism and liberalism and immediately move to shut it down. And this is just a great example of Metternich, trying to preserve that conservatism, ladies and gentlemen. It's the Carlsbad decrees are going to be ordered by Metternich. It's going to dissolve the Burschenschaften in response to the murder. And this is just an example of conservatism. It's the Carlsbad decrees are going to allow for university inspectors. It's going to censor the press and move to kind of just stop this liberalism and stop this nationalism. Okay, this is just a great example of how swift and just how decisive Metternich is. I mean, Metternich wants none of that within Germany, none of that within Europe. Okay, and this is just a great example of conservatism within and trying to maintain that conservatism within the early 1800s, 19th century. And here is just a picture of that student association doing some exercises. All right, let's move. All right, so we're also going to see, ladies and gentlemen, conservatism in Great Britain as well. Now, y'all might be like, "Whoa, Harv, isn't Great Britain kind of ahead, progressive, always forward-thinking?" Yeah, absolutely. But Great Britain, remember, ladies and gentlemen, is going to respond with some conservatism because they saw what happened in France firsthand. They dealt with Napoleon. They saw, Edmund Burke. Remember, was kind of talking about all that chaos that was going in there, that was going on in France. And so Great Britain is going to respond with some conservatism, ladies and gentlemen, as well. And so we're going to see the Tories, the Conservative Party, who had defeated Napoleon. They were in control of Parliament during this time, and Great Britain during this time is going to be suffering from poor harvest and unemployment. And Lord Liverpool, and a really important politician, is going to be seeking to protect the interests of the wealthy. And so we're going to see Great Britain react. We'll see them switch, and we'll see kind of after. During the mid 1800s, especially in response to the Industrial Revolution, Great Britain will really shift gears and go back to their norm of liberalism. But we're going to see Great Britain respond with some conservatism immediately after Napoleon, and you really can't blame them. I mean, they've just witnessed this catastrophe and just the destruction of Europe, and especially France with the Enlightenment and the Revolution and the Napoleonic Wars, and so they're going to be responding with some conservatism. So we're going to see a couple things. We're going to see the Corn Law, which is going to maintain high prices on corn. This is really protecting the interests of the wealthy and really going after lower socioeconomic groups in response to the sans-culottes. Great Britain does not want their own sans-culottes to take power within Great Britain. We're going to see an excise tax that were both the wealthy and poor paid, as opposed to an income tax that only the wealthy paid for. So this is going to be a tax on the poor. They're going to outlaw workers' organizations or unions. This is known as the Combination Acts. They don't want workers to organize. They don't want workers to form unions that could lead to revolution amongst the lower socioeconomic classes, aka echoing those sans-culottes. All right. But we're gonna see some discontent from people, and we're gonna see some discontent from groups who are directly affected by this. And so we're gonna see leaders of low social orders call for changes. We're gonna see mass meetings near London. And in response, Liverpool is going to pass the Coercion Acts of 1817. And look at just right after this is right after the Congress of Vienna, right after the fall of Napoleon, just a few years after, which is going to suspend habeas corpus, outlaw these gatherings. And what the government is seeing, this is the really big point I'm trying to get at, ladies and gentlemen, is the government saw the sans-culottes. They did not want their own kind of version, the English version of the sans-culottes. And this is the same thing with Austria and Prussia. They don't want that. They're scared of that because of what they saw happened in France, ladies and gentlemen, especially during that radical phase with the Jacobins taking over. So this is Great Britain really responding to that and trying to prevent that. Okay, and we're going to see continued repression in Great Britain, ladies and gentlemen. In 1819, we're going to see a radical reformer meeting and a Peterloo massacre, where we see 11 radical protesters killed by the militia at a meeting in England. And what's important about this is we're going to see Great Britain respond, and they're going to respond with this 6 acts, which is really important. And this is designed to prevent radical leaders from agitating, and it's going to give authorities new powers. And again, Great Britain is doing this. It's not like you need to memorize all this, but just maybe pick an example to just kind of memorize and know for the AP exam. But Great Britain is fearful of the lower socioeconomic classes gaining political power. And this is directly in response to the French Revolution. Now, later on, which I'm going to be talking about in chapters 13 and 14, we will see Great Britain have to give other groups a little bit of power, and that is because of the Industrial Revolution. But right now, they're very fearful of lower socioeconomic groups gaining power. And so they're going to pass this 6 acts to prevent radical leaders, to prevent other groups from gaining power. They're going to forbid large unauthorized meetings, raise fines for seditious libel. The trials are going to be sped up for political agitators. They're going to increase newspaper taxes, prohibiting the training of armed groups. They're going to allow local officials to search homes, and they are doing this. They are kind of enacting these drastic measures because they don't want revolution. They don't want their own version of the sans-culottes. Okay, and there was this Cato Strait conspiracy. It was a plot by radicals to blow up the cabinet, and this is all, you can see a little bit of instability in Great Britain because of the fear of the revolution reaching Great Britain. But we won't see revolution reach Great Britain because they will reform, and we will talk about that. Okay, now we're also going to see, ladies and gentlemen, conservatism illustrated in France. All right, we're going to see the Bourbons, the monarchy, be restored in France, and this is going to be with Louis XVIII. He's going to become the monarch in 1814 and agree to be a constitutional monarch. Now, y'all might be like, whoa, Harv, wait, what? Wait, he's not going to become an absolute monarch? There's going to be a constitution. That's liberalism. Well, here's the deal, ladies and gentlemen. France is not going to totally go back to the pre-Ancien regime, okay? Why? Well, France is still very volatile. They've just had a revolution. They've just had Napoleon, okay? The French Revolution ideals are not just going to immediately disappear. All right, so there's going to be a little bit of a compromise. There's going to be a little bit of liberalism, but they're bringing back the Bourbons. Okay, there's that conservatism factor of bringing back the monarchy. Okay, it's not like we're going to see France go into a full republic. Okay, so they're going to be bringing back the monarchy to a constitutional monarch, but the monarch will have definitely some power. Now, we're not going to see a Louis the XVII because Louis XVIII or Louis the 16th's son died in prison. So Louis XVIII is Louis XVI's brother, okay, because the other Louis died. All right, so we're going to see the charter, ladies and gentlemen, which is the new government, this new constitutional monarchy, all right? And this is going to provide for a hereditary monarchy and a bicameral legislature. So there will be like a legislature, kind of like Parliament in England. There's going to be 2 chambers, a chamber of deputies and a chamber of peers. It's going to guarantee most of the Declaration of the Rights of Man and Citizen, and guarantee some religious toleration, but Roman Catholicism will be the official religion. So what's important about this, ladies and gentlemen, to understand, and it's not like you need to memorize all this, okay, is that the Bourbons are back, okay, that's part of conservatism, bringing back this monarchy, okay, bringing back the Bourbons, trying to bring back the status quo. In France, especially, they can't go all the way back because of some of the changes that have already taken place. It's been 20 years, 25 years in France. A lot of people have grown up with some of these changes from the French Revolution. Going back might lead to further revolution, and it will lead to, and we're going to see France revolt a couple more times, okay? So we're going to see France have a little bit of liberalism, but also definitely bringing back some conservatism with bringing back the monarchy. Important for us to remember. Now, we're also going to see a movement, ladies and gentlemen, of ultra-royalism in France, ladies and gentlemen, as revenge for the revolution. We're going to see royalists, this movement, initiate this white terror and murder thousands of former revolutionaries in France, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to see in 1820, the Duke of Berry, who's the second in line to the throne, is going to be killed, and we're going to see a lot of former Jacobins be killed, a lot of former members of the Legislative Assembly, the Directory, killed. All right, and we're going to see the ultra royalists really persuade the king to be conservative and to institute conservatism, press censorship, easy arrest for people suspected of dangerous political activity. And so we're seeing kind of the pendulum swing a little bit. Whereas in the French Revolution, we saw members who supported the monarchy being killed by Jacobins, being killed by revolutionaries and radicals. Now it's kind of swinging the other way as there is a monarch in power. We're seeing these royalists go out there and kind of retaliate for the Jacobins and other revolutionaries for killing people who supported Louis XVI and Marie Antoinette. Okay, and so we're going to see in France they're really we're going to see a push by the ultra royalists and by more conservative members to really drive liberals out of politics and almost into a near illegal status in France. And so really seeing a resurgence of conservatism, ladies and gentlemen, in France during this time. And the best example is the Bourbon Restoration, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, and here is just a picture of the Bourbons restored to the monarchy, restored to power. All right. Now, ladies and gentlemen, there's a really important example. We talked about the Burschenschaften and the Carlsbad decrees. Another example of conservatism and really, being asserted within Europe in the early 1800s is the Spanish Revolution of 1820. Spain is going to revolt against its monarch, the Bourbon monarch, Ferdinand VII, ladies and gentlemen. He wasn't following the Constitution. He was vowing to follow the Constitution. He's going to vow to follow the Constitution, but he wasn't following the Constitution. And so we're going to see Spain revolt. All right. Metternich is going to immediately respond, and he's going to immediately respond with Russia, Prussia, and France will get involved as well because the Bourbon monarchy is shared between France and Spain. And so Metternich is going to immediately jump in there because he sees this as a problem. He doesn't want any of that revolution. He doesn't want to see any of that nationalism, liberalism spread throughout the rest of Europe and potentially get to Austria. Okay, so we're going to see the Protocol of Treptow, all right, which is going to assert that stable governments can intervene and might intervene to restore order to countries experiencing revolution. And so Austria is going to use this as a pretense to invade Italy and, just make sure there's no revolution, there's no dissent, no nothing, all right? And we're going to see France with the permission of Austria, Prussia, and Britain, of Austria, Prussia, and Russia, but not Britain, under the Congress of Verona, move in to restore order and keep the Bourbon monarch in power, to keep Ferdinand in power. And Britain's not going to give France permission because, number one, Britain is still pretty salty about Napoleon and France, but also Britain's going to withdraw from the system. Britain is not really necessarily focused on this revolution. They are focused on themselves, making sure that no revolution reaches Britain, but also focused on the Industrial Revolution and focused on making that money. Okay? What's important about this, ladies and gentlemen, especially France getting involved, is France gets involved in this revolution, but doesn't get involved in it, ladies and gentlemen, to take land or gain power. They simply want to repress any nationalism or liberalism to make sure it doesn't spread. And so France does not take any land, even though Spain is right next door to it and it has the opportunity, maybe take some land. It's not going to. Okay, it simply wants to maintain order, and stop revolution. And again, this is really a main focal point of this Congress system and really trying to maintain the peace. And this is going to help avoid a large-scale war in Europe until World War I. Okay, but World War I will illustrate just the abject failure of Europe to maintain peace, in World War II as well. All right, we're going to see the English Foreign Minister George Kenyon will abide by the Monroe Doctrine. And is going to take a greater role in trading with Latin America before. And that's really, ladies and gentlemen, a motive of England and the UK during this time, is they are focused on trade. They're focused on the Industrial Revolution. They do not want to get involved with this revolution, and they do not want to get focused, on all the quarrels and, the politics of the continent. Okay, they are focused on their economy, focused on themselves, and really focused on making their money. Okay. All right. We'll stop here for today, ladies and gentlemen. In the next lecture tomorrow, we're going to talk about conservatism and some of the challenges that's going to be faced with liberalism and nationalism in the early 1800s, 19th century. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Have a great day.